What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm gonna be going through my Western Conference standings predictions. But before we start, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The first team up, as the 15th seed, I have the Utah Jazz. It's not like the Jazz are short of talent. They have plenty of talent on this roster. They're all just young and will struggle to close out games. It also doesn't help that they're in a loaded Western Conference where literally 14 teams have a chance at making the playoffs. If the Jazz won 10 games, I'm sure they wouldn't care. Obviously the fans would, but when it comes to the organization, all they should care about is the young guys like Bryce Sensabaugh, Isaiah Collier, Keontae George, Walter Clayton, Ace Bailey, Taylor Hendricks, Walker Kessler, Kyle Filipowski, and Cody Williams' development. I wouldn't even say the Jazz are a bad 15th seed. They're just unlucky to be a rebuilding team in the Bloodbath West. Moving on to the 14th seed, where I have the New Orleans Pelicans. I really want to buy into the hype that Zion is skinny now and will be healthy. But even if Zion manages to stay healthy, the whole Pelicans roster seems to end up injured. Last year, Herb Jones only played in 20 games. Trey Murphy played 53. DeJounte Murray only played 31 and will miss the start of the season. Jordan Poole and Yves Missi were the only players that played more than 55 games last year. Even when healthy, I do worry about their defense. Herb Jones and Trey Murphy are good on the perimeter, and Yves Missi is a good rim protector. But they have a significant amount of bad defenders that the other teams can expose, like Jordan Poole. Zion, Jeremiah Fears won't be the greatest defender from day one. Jordan Hawkins, as an on-ball defender, also isn't the greatest. Sadiq Bey and Derek Queen are all not the greatest defenders, but their offense, when healthy, should be really good. Moving on to the 13th seed, and it may be a hot take, but I've got the Phoenix Suns. This roster just has nothing going for them outside of Devin Booker. If Booker goes down, the Suns really don't have any shot creation whatsoever. Jalen Green has the potential to break out now that he isn't the main focus from the defenses, but we'll wait and see if that happens. We'll also see if Dillon Brooks can keep the same productivity in the new system as he did in year 2 in Houston. Mark Williams, Ryan Dunn, Carmen Malawach, Nick Richards, and Royce O'Neal need plays to be set up for them to score, but the Suns have no real point guards that try to set up their teammates. But they're all great defenders and rebounders. But they do have guards who are very capable of creating their own shot, like Colin Gillespie and Jared Butler, who'll be fighting for the backup point guard spot. The next team up, as the 12th seed, I have the Sacramento Kings. Just like the Suns, nothing stands out on the Kings roster. Sure, they have guys that can give you 20 points a night, like Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Domantas Sabonis, Malik Monk, even Dennis Schroeder, if he's given the opportunity. But there's a lot more to basketball than scoring. Their defense is extremely mediocre, and they don't have a true playmaker. Yes, Schroeder can be capable of dishing out assists, and is a better passer than Malik Monk, who played a lot of point guard to end last season after trading De'Aaron Fox for Zach LaVine. But Schroeder isn't the perfect passer, like Lonzo Ball was when DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine had on that first seed Bulls team 4 years ago. Sabonis can pass, but you're not going to have him one point guard. Outside of Keegan Murray, Keon Ellis, and Devin Carter, and I guess Schroeder, if he defends like he did in the Knicks series. But outside of them, everyone else is a negative on the defensive end. They also don't have any rim protection whatsoever. The last team I have missing the play-ins is the Portland Trail Blazers. I really want this team to make a playoff or play-in run, but I just can't see it with how stacked the Western Conference is. This team will be one of the best defenses in the league, with guys like Chumani Kamara, Drew Holiday, Matisse Thybulle, Jeremy Grant, and even Denny Avdia, Shaden Sharp, and Scoot Henderson aren't total scrubs on the defensive end either. On the perimeter, with Jonathan Clingan and Robert Williams, when he's healthy, protecting the rim. They have great offensive guys too, like Scoot Henderson, who has a ton of potential and was meant to be one of the better prospects of the last couple of years. I'm expecting big things out of Shaden Sharp this year. Denny Avdia averaged around 23 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists in 20 games post-All-Star break. Jeremy Grant is capable of averaging 20 points, and Donovan Clingan has turned himself into a decent three-point shooter and is a good lob threat. Moving on to the 10th seed, just clinching a play-in spot, I have the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are an impossible team to rank. Not only is their team extremely confusing, but pretty much every big on their roster will be injured to start the season. Their defense should be extremely good, with the plethora of defensive wings they have, like newly acquired Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Jalen Wells, G.G. Jackson, Vince Williams Jr., Cedric Coward, and even Scottie Pippen Jr. is a pretty good defender for his frame. But their offense and ability to stay healthy, and just the fact the Western Conference is so deep, is why I have them so low. But I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if they prove me wrong. They have some good offensive talent, like Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Santi Aldama, Ty Jerome, Scottie Pippen Jr., and Jalen Wells' three-point shot has looked good in preseason. But do they all work together is another question. The next team up, as the 9th seed, I have the San Antonio Spurs. Here's another team I wanted to put higher, but just couldn't find room. It's genuinely insane how much depth this team has. They could run a 12-man rotation and be fine. Not to mention guys like Micah Potter, who was putting up really solid numbers last year in Utah in the limited opportunity he got, and Lindy Waters, who's one of the more underrated snipers in the league. He proved he belonged in a contending team's rotation to start last year in Golden State. If they were to run a 10-man rotation, which I'd assume they do, 2 of Luke Kennard, Kelly Olynyk, Carter Bryant, Jeremy Sohan, and Julian Champagnie would miss out on playing time, which none of them deserve to. Their defense is a little worrying, in their starting lineup especially, but when you have Wemby protecting the paint, are you really that worried? And Stephon Castle on the perimeter. But none of De'Aaron Fox, Devin Vassell, and Harrison Barnes are that fantastic defensively. But off the bench, you have Carter Bryant, Jeremy Sohan, Julian Champagnie, Luke Cornett, and Keldon Johnson, so you shouldn't be worried if you're a Spurs fan. And their offense should be electric too, with De'Aaron Fox, hopefully a healthy season from Wemby, and he might be able to take another jump offensively. Year 2 Steph Castle should be even better, and their exciting rookie, Dylan Harper. Moving on to the 8th seed, where I got the Golden State Warriors. This Warriors team is extremely old, so it's going to take an absurd amount of luck for them to stay healthy this season. They do have quite a bit of depth to cover for injuries at the guard positions and at center, but if an injury was to occur at the forward position, would put a big dent in the Warriors team. Their defense, yet again, should be really good, with guys like Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, Al Horford, even at 37, is a solid defender. DeAnthony Melton, when healthy, is a great defender. Przemski and Moses Moody are good team defenders, and Gary Payton, but their offense might struggle, other than their three-point shooting. Other than Curry, and sometimes Jonathan Kuminga, no one else is a great scoring threat from inside the arc, other than Jimmy Butler, but he regressed significantly since arriving in Golden State offensively last year. The team I have just missing the playoffs, coming in as the 7th seed, is the Los Angeles Clippers. Going from one old team to another, just like the Warriors, injuries will play a big factor as to where the Clippers come, but I think the Clippers have more depth to cover for these injuries. Last year, the Clippers had the 3rd best defensive rating in the league in the regular season and the 15th best offensive rating. But in the offseason, they sacrificed a tiny bit of their defense to upgrade their offense, with the additions of John Collins, Chris Paul, Brook Lopez, and Bradley Beal. The only significant piece they lost was Norman Powell, but they found their replacement by signing Bradley Beal. Beal is a little bit of a downgrade, based off both their seasons last year, but with a change of scenery, hopefully it rejuvenates Beal's game. The Clippers' defense from 3 to 5 is elite, with Derrick Jones Jr., Kawhi Leonard, and Ivica Zubac. Then off the bench, they had Chris Paul, who isn't a fantastic defender at this point in his career, but he can still turn it on. Chris Dunn and Brook Lopez are also great defenders off the bench, not to mention offensively. Harden is surrounded with a bunch of shooters, and they've added another love threat for him with the addition of John Collins. Moving on to the playoffs, as the 6th seed, I have the Los Angeles Lakers. If the Lakers improve their defense during the trade deadline, or even before that, then I can see them being a top 4 seed, but I can't see them being any higher with an abysmal defense. LeBron James is about to turn 41 years old and is set to miss the first couple of weeks of the season, and who knows how many games he'll sit out due to fatigue. Their starting lineup to start the season has been revealed, and it looks incredibly worrying. The offense will probably be really weird too. Having Luka, Gabe Vincent, and Austin Reeves on the court at the same time will be extremely clunky. I don't know if it's official. I probably got sent out, but that's a report that came out. Even when LeBron comes back, I'm not a big fan of the fit, but they're both top 15 players in the league. I'm sure they can make it work, and they worked it out in the offseason to go along with pretty mediocre defense on the perimeter. They have no rim protection either, and their depth isn't fantastic. The next team up, as the 5th seed, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves. Another season where Minnesota have no real star point guard. Mike Conley is still going to be starting. It's not like he's terrible. He's just clearly not the player he once was. And it's not like they have many options outside of him. Dante DiVincenzo, to me, is more of a 2 than he is a 1. And Rob Dillingham is still extremely raw as a player. And I don't know if he'll ever meet the expectations people were setting out for him. Outside of Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle, it's hard to see where the offense really comes from. The depth on this team is not great. Jaden McDaniels has really improved from the 3-point line over the last couple of seasons, but still inconsistent. Dante DiVincenzo is the definition of inconsistent. Mike Conley is probably going to regress even more. Hopefully we'll see another leap in Terrence Shannon Jr.'s game. And Naz Reid is a good player, but probably won't be enough. Their defense though is amazing on the perimeter and protecting the rim, and that's why I have them this high. Coming in as the 4th seed, I got the Dallas Mavericks. This may be a little high, especially for a team that do have injury concerns, but the amount of depth they have and their defense is just too good to pass up on. They could legit play 13 players and be just fine. That's not even including Kyrie Irving, who will miss the start of the season recovering from a torn ACL. I don't know how this team is so underrated. The offense may not be the greatest, but are we really forgetting who Anthony Davis is? D'Angelo Russell is still a pretty decent player. He may struggle to start the season, but once Kyrie comes back and D'Lo moves to the bench, he'll remind people how good he can be. Clay's still a really good shooter. Max Christie should only be getting better with experience. They'll always have a decent center on the floor that can finish at a high level. Trooper Flag could excel in his role now that he doesn't have to be relied on nearly as much as he would if he landed at a bottom team. And Najee Marshall and PJ Washington are great shooters beyond the arc. Did I forget to mention that nearly everyone on this roster can defend exceptionally well as well? Moving on to the third seed, where I have the Denver Nuggets. I know a lot of people are predicting them to be one spot higher, and while I wouldn't be surprised if they finish with a better record than the team I have in second, but I just think there are more question marks with the Nuggets. Their defense. I know they upgraded it this offseason with the signing of Bruce Brown and the addition of Cam Johnson, who replaces Michael Porter Jr., who was a putrid defender. But I just don't think it's good enough, especially when you add in there's no rim protection. Having Bruce Brown, Christian Brown, Aaron Gordon, Peyton Watson, and I guess Cam Johnson on the perimeter is cool and all, but when you have a center on the court who can't protect the rim at all times, it leaves a big hole in your team's defense, because it's not like they're back up to Jokic. Jonas Valanciunas is a good defender either. If he was, I would have no doubt they'd be the second seed, but he's not. Offensively wise, I love this team. Jokic is surrounded by elite shooters like Cam Johnson and Tim Hardaway Jr. to go with Jamal Murray. Bruce Brown, Christian Brown, and Aaron Gordon can only be positives for the Nuggets, and we'll see what happens with Julian Strawther. Coming in as the second seed of the Houston Rockets. Yes, I think they'll be better than the Nuggets. Their defense will just be unfair. How are you meant to score on Amen Thompson, Jabari Smith Jr., Tari Eason, Dorian Finney-Smith, Steven Adams, and Josh Okogie? Even guys like Kevin Durant, Reed Shepherd, and Alperen Sengun aren't awful defensively. The Rockets were the second seed last year, and somehow got better with the addition of Kevin Durant. Even at the age of 36, he still averaged 27 points. I can't see him regressing that much to put a stunt in this Rockets team. Their lack of a point guard is a little scary, and the only reason I could see them overtaken by the Nuggets, but we'll see how Reed Shepherd looks and Amen Thompson as a full-time point guard. At least Sengun is a great playmaker. He's not a full-time ball handler, but he can help out. Kevin Durant also doesn't need a point guard to average 25 plus points. The last team of the video, as the first seed, I have a pretty obvious one. It's the Oklahoma City Thunder. There's not much I need to say. They're the defending champs and have brought back everyone from their championship team. They still have one of the better defenses of all time, while also having the reigning MVP and scoring champ, Jalen Williams, who was an All-Star and was selected for an All-NBA team last year, Chet Holmgren, who should only be getting better and could very well see himself in his first All-Star game this year. Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe are both elite three-point shooters, and Cason Wallace is a pretty good off-the-ball shooter, who should only be getting better as well. The guard depth on this team is insane, with AJ Mitchell and Nikola Topic both deserving of playing time, but I just don't think they get it. And Lou Dort and Alex Caruso on the court at the same time defensively is just unfair. That's gonna end this video. If you enjoyed it, Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know what changes you'd make to my lists.